Hey folks, Fernando doing our video for Tomorrow Survival is, man, the best value in terms of knives as of right now, right here with BPS knives. Before I go on with the video, if you're interested in learning how to prepare for the coming economic collapse, economic crisis, depending exactly on where you are, and you want to learn from my first-hand experience actually going through an economic collapse, get my book, Surviving the Economic Collapse, based on my experience in Argentina and street survival skills. These will cover the practical aspect of that kind of situation. Let's get to this because it's super cool. So I had to do the video again because I did like an unboxing video yesterday. Yes, these come from Ukraine, which is yet another cool factor, you know, helping out those guys going through a horrible situation like you well know. But I had to do it again because 34 bucks and 20 cents plus shipping, which is not really all that expensive, it is a wonderful opportunity. It took I contacted them right away after buying it. They told me that it would take about a month, and it sure did, but I couldn't be happier with it. I think I paid 40 bucks for it. At $32.20, you want to get one of these. Even if you have 100 knives, just do yourself a favor and get one of these BPS knives for 34 bucks. Let's get to the quick review. I mean, you start with a very well-made sheath, leather, friction sheath, as you see here. So you appreciate that it's nice, thick leather, good loop, nice metal, rivets were needed, so this is not falling apart on you or anything. For 34 bucks, you're getting a very high quality leather that on its own usually goes for 25, 30 bucks easy. Not only that, you get a fire steel with a wood little handle there, and this seems to be oak. Pretty sure it is. This seems to be maybe, is this oak as well? Let me know in the comments. This looks a little bit different. This is definitely oak, no doubt about that. But you have a very well-made sheath with a wonderful fire steel, which is very, very thick. And the blade itself, it is an exquisite design. It is classic. It's not trying to improvise anything weird or anything like that. You get a cool Scandi grind, which is one of the sharpest knives out of the box I've seen in years. And believe me, I have countless knives. I have hundreds of knives. I'm ashamed to say how much some of those knives that I have cost. This is one of the cheapest knives that I have, and it's definitely one of the knives that cuts best out of the box that I've seen in a very, very long time. So Scandi grind, I think it's like a 5-inch blade, 5 and something else. It's definitely 13, a little bit over 13 centimeters. So 13 centimeter blade, Scandi grind, no frills, nothing weird, and just a solid blade. It's not all that thick, so it's not a super thick stock blade. It is going at 3 millimeters. In my experience, 3 millimeters is more than enough for a reasonably strong blade. In the case of this steel, this is 1066 carbon steel. Now, it's not the fanciest steel there is. You're probably more familiar with 1095 carbon steel, which has a little bit more carbon. How much of a difference does it make? I'd rather have a 1066 or even 1055 carbon steel blade rather than the higher carbon content blade of 1095. Why? Because even though it has a little bit less edge retention, and just a little bit less, which is probably negligent given the heat treatment, if it's properly done or not, or the blade geometry, definitely so, you have a much stronger, tougher blade. The higher the carbon content, the less tough the blade is, even though you get a little bit more of edge retention. 1055, 1065, and 1095, I'd rather go with 1055 or 1065, 1066, still happy with that. Why? Because if you look at some of the destruction tests, that's where you learn to appreciate that kind of steel in knives such as the cold steel machetes. Remember those that survived some of the worst torture tests from NAS, was it back in the day, destroying blades? Those blades are indestructible because they don't have a higher carbon content and they are less likely to fail catastrophically. 90-degree angle in the spine, there's going to be throwing sparks like crazy. It is super sharp and proudly made in Ukraine. These knives are being used by soldiers in Ukraine. I've seen seen some of the pictures. I see some of the soldiers there using Glocks, knives, Mora knives, pretty much anything they can get their hands on or anything that's donated to them. I saw one knife expert complaining that it rusted. Yes, Mr. Survival Expert, carbon steel does rust. That's something you learn in survival school day 58, but just heads up, yes, it is carbon steel. Yes, it hasn't got any epoxy coating or anything like that. So yes, it will rust, like carbon steel has always done throughout history. You just have to keep in mind to do a little bit of oiling, and if you get a little bit of rust, just clean it with some steel wool and oil it or grease it a little bit up. Mineral oil is usually the way to go if you want to do like a patina with vinegar or some of the different bluings that you have available in the market. Knock yourself out, especially for the price. Buy a couple and try different things. The handle is surprisingly comfortable. A little bit on the thin side, so if you have a small hand, you will be happy with that. If you have a medium hand, you will be okay. If you have a medium to large hand, like in my case, it is still comfortable even though it feels a little bit skinny at times. And if you have a huge paw, you'll still be happy with it, and you have a little bit real estate there left for even a bigger hand than mine. So oak, I see that it's I've seen some other hardwoods used, but this is definitely oak, which is nice. So yeah, very full tang blade, of course, and I'm super happy with it. I think that if you're looking for something that is a solid knife for a soldier, like these guys are going, if you couldn't get a fancier knife that costs $100 and has nicer stainless steel, knock yourself out. This, for the price, is a steal. I'd get a couple of these, really. I have a ton of knives already, and I cannot really justify a lot more. I mean, by the way, this was not sent to me for reviewing. This was paid out of my pocket, and I just feel super comfortable recommending these guys because it's proudly made in Ukraine, and especially for people looking for a quality product. Again, you will not find a better knife for 34 bucks. I can pretty much guarantee you that. So yeah, it just ticks all the boxes for me. Highly recommended, folks. There you go. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful knife. If you're interested, again, in learning survival preparedness based on reality, practical survival based on the economic situation that you're seeing all over the world right now, in some countries being hit worse than others, but advice that everyone could use, Surviving the Economic Collapse. And for the practical aspect, a lot of firearms training, a lot of knife fighting, how to use these things to defend yourself, improvised weapons, security and safety on the streets, and a ton more stuff, improvised methods of filtration, fire starting, tactical stuff, driving, and how to fight with chairs. It's been pretty interesting to do this book for you guys, fighting with different knives and different techniques, hand to hand, and a bunch more stuff, EDC, clothing, and so on. See you on our next video, guys. Take care.